However, the Giants taking on the Yankees as of right now, we're not going to go through every single pick because there's a lot of them. We're not going to go too in depth on, but what we are going to do is give you our playoff teams and who we have in the World Series. So I'm going to go and lead us off with how I have us getting there. It's not a surprise here in a lot of cases. In the AL, Blue Jays, they were in the World Series and they got better. I believe they did lose Bo Bichette, but I still think they're an absolute unit. Seattle Mariners, we're probably an inch away from getting the World Series themselves. Big dumper, Rodriguez, arguably the best pitching rotation in the AL. We'll take the Mariners. Yankees, I don't really know why. I can't really justify this. I think they're just going to somehow find their way in. Somehow they're just going to have enough firepower once again. Aaron Judge in the regular season, when it's not a game on the line, we know he's one of the best players in baseball and there's nothing behind it. Cody Bellinger's another fun addition. They just somehow they find a way. Just pure raw firepower. Death, taxes, Jose Ramirez led Guardians finding a way to win 90 games. I don't know. Another one that doesn't make sense, but they always end up at 90 wins. So I think that'll be enough in the Central. The Astros, I just kind of the same thing until they fall apart. I'm going to consistently have them in here. They play a very good brand of baseball. They still have a very good team. I think they're going to find a way to get in as a wild card spot. The surprise for me is I'm going to put the Orioles in there. They did make some good moves. Last year, they were a huge letdown, like coming off the year before. A lot of us were like, hey, this could be the World Series team. They're young. All these white people look alike, but they hit bombs nonetheless. I think they kind of rounded full form this year. I think some of the additions they made, some of those young kids, I think this is where they put it together and are able to make a run for that wild card spot. So I'm going to say the Orioles find their way in, beating out. I think it's going to be a very, very competitive race for that spot. Yeah, the Tigers will be in there. There'll be some other really good teams in that spot. So I think they'll win that competitive race. In the NL, the Dodgers, to nobody's surprise whatsoever, they're back-to-back champs. The Braves, I think, will not be 99% injured this year, so I think they're going to bounce back this year and be really, really nice. I think Acuna and squad, I think they're just going to be healthy this year. I think that's going to make a huge difference. Last year, they almost made it while injured, so I will give them the nod there. The Cubs were kind of a surprise to everybody except for me who picked them last year in the Central, so I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to double down on that because while the Brewers are really good, I think the Cubs are just a touch better. Philadelphia Phillies, kind of in the same way. They're just really good. They have a lot of really good players. I think they'll find a way to get in as well. They still have the firepower. Copy and paste for the Padres. When you have Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, and crew, they'll find a way to get in as well. And the Diamondbacks, I think, will get healthy. I do like some of the players they have brought in as well. So I'm going to say that the Diamondbacks will find a way to sneak in there as well, but we're going to just rip this Band-Aid straight off. World Series matchup. Mariners taking on the Dodgers. Too much to absolutely nobody's surprise. I will have the Dodgers getting back because good luck beating that team in a 7-game series. And I think the Mariners with that rotation, they still have such a really good lineup. They might be the most balanced team not named the Dodgers in baseball, and they did it for a much cheaper price and didn't have to sell their soul for it. That being said, one thing we've seen recently is three-peats are a lot harder to come by. Remember, the Chiefs had a three-peat that got stopped. The Warriors, I know, was a little bit further back, got their three-peat stomped. We're going to say the Mariners find a way, after they were this close last year to getting in there, they're going to find a way to squeak one out against the Dodgers, maybe in a late Game 6 walk-off or a late Game 7, getting them out swinging. So we'll take the Mariners to hoist the trophy, and it being a very, very, very good year for Seattle sports fans, those spoiled SOBs, where they'll get the Seahawks and the Mariners taking home trophies.
Okay. You know what? I think I just need to go ahead and give you my playoff teams because I have not very many different takeaways. Okay, so we've all talked about this with baseball. It seems like the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and there's certain teams that just know how to take advantage of the poor side of things. One of those teams is the Guardians on the AL side. They have one of the lower roster costs in baseball, and yet they still manage to make themselves playoff contenders every year, despite every Guardians fan being the most negative people I know. They are Browns fans. Do you blame them? Probably not.
They've seen some.
It's like me being a Cowboys fan. It was the worst thing for the world for me to be that. So, you know what? But yeah, look, you see it here. Blue Jays, Mariners, Yankees, Guardians, Astros, all the same as DJ. Where I differ is what he said about the Orioles is exactly how I feel about the Tigers. It is so close for that last pick. I honestly would not be shocked if this is a situation where it comes to the 1-game playoff to play in for a play-in again. And it's been an incredible rotation of teams in that 6 AL wildcard spot, or getting that 3rd AL wildcard spot, the 6th playoff spot for the AL. And I have a hard time looking at the Tigers with Tariq Skubal and not thinking they will get this. As frustrated as I was watching the pitch limit for the World Baseball Classic, I think he is still fantastic. I think Torque will come back again and be an excellent piece offensively. I also think this team has some other pieces like Riley and others that will be enough, just enough to get him over the hump over the Pete Alonsos of the Orioles. But it's going to be close. They were my toss up, and honestly, I could have gone either way. In the NL, I do at least have two different teams. Surprising nobody, I did pick my Giants as one of those two teams, and that is, well, it's the NL West. And one thing, if we learn anything about the NL West,
wild.
Flip a coin, and there's going to be a second, potentially a third team in the playoff conversation. And honestly, if Corbin Carroll wasn't on the didn't get hurt coming into the season and could have played in the World Baseball Classic, I probably put the Diamondbacks here. But that delay in his ability to get ready and get into the season is why I'm not. Because every other player, there's a lot of players for the Giants that were in the WBC that were playing, and they came back, and they're ahead of where they would be normally coming out of spring training, which is a positive on top of everything. And then you have the Mets. I don't think I need to say much about the Mets. The one problem is probably Pete Alonso no longer being there, but I think they figured that out, so I'm not too concerned. I do want to point out that I also have the Braves here, and one thing I do want to call out, and I think this is going to be a big piece of why the Braves succeed, they have the Mets first base coach now, Antoine Richardson, who is a big reason why the Mets were stealing so many bases, which means Ozzy Albies will be actually stealing bases for the first time ever. I've literally drafted him in both leagues I'm in just because I think that's an opportunity. The Spencer Strider injury will probably affect them negatively early on, but I think they still get into a wild card spot. And then you have the Phillies. I don't think anybody's surprised. Cubs, Dodgers. I don't need to say any more about those guys. But yeah, so you see three differences between our two picks. Now, my World Series pick, DJ, you know what? I wish I could say I'm going something different, but of course I am. I'm actually going with the Subway Series here. Actually, I did originally say the Mariners and Dodgers, and then we joked about like being way too similar. And I was like, fine. I had one already pre-picked that was going to be I'm breaking the rules because I haven't done it in a long time. I haven't broken the rules in a long time when we do this. So I came
It's been 7 days. I get it. Like it has been a full 7 days since you broke a rule.
But no, so Yankees, Mets here. I think this is one of those situations where the Mets will just find a way to sneak their way through the NL, maybe some timely injuries through the playoffs for the Dodgers or whoever they end up facing. It's hard to just say the bats for the Mets are not good enough because that's a lie. The bats for the Mets are a good enough situation. Can the rest of the team support that? I don't know. The Yankees, I think if I said anything other than they're the Yankees, I think everybody still understands. So I don't think I need to say more, but Aaron Judge, as long as he's not in a clutch time situation, is still going to rake. So give me Yankees, give me Mets in this situation. And I think this is the one where we get the Yankees to actually break their World Series winless streak. It's been a long time since the Yankees lifted the trophy, and I think we finally get to see it. No Dodgers, which is the best part for everybody in the world. Unfortunately, the Yankees lift it. So there you go.
Ooh, I get that. So
I ruined somebody's.
Does Aaron Judge overcome his issues then, or do they win in spite of it?
No,
okay, so someone else is taking on that MVP trophy.
Gleyber Torres. Honestly, if Yankees fans, if you look at me and tell me Gleyber Torres is not a vital piece in the 7th, 8th, 9th, I'm going to laugh at you because out of honestly, all the starters for the Yankees, he might be one of the quietest clutch hitters for the Yankees, and it's kind of dumb. It's like one of those weird things. Like you're like, this dude does nothing for a long haul, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, it's like, oh hey, by the way, somebody remembered how to hit the ball, and it's the simple things. It's laying down the correct bunt. It's popping out, getting a sac fly, things that Aaron Judge seems to forget that he can do, despite being 6 foot forever and 280 pounds of pure muscle. He forgets that, hey, I can hit ball far and still get a productive out. Those are things I can do. They forget about him. This is a situation, but yeah, still think the Yankees can get there. Maybe he does it in one game. I don't think he does it for long term in the series. It's hard to overcome that form of the yips. I think that clutch form of the yips, it's hard to overcome that.
If we do get that Subway Series as a World Series, there's going to be like an air crisis with the amount of smog coming out of New York in addition to the pollution. So we're going to have to figure that out. They're going to have to plant a dome or something so we can contain it. Second of all, my goodness, the bombs we are going to see with those home games, just already very home run friendly stadiums. Now you put this wherever there's not. Yeah, we're taking the over. I don't know what it is, but we're taking the over for sure.
We definitely get. Well, we also definitely get a snow game in one of those. because this year's is a little bit later for the World Series to start. Definitely get a snow game. And also, our podcast chat is going to be absolutely toxic, and I can't wait for that.
It's always toxic, but this will make it even worse. And you know what I look forward to?
You do have Jared and myself in there, and Jared's a Diamondbacks fan, and I'm a Giants fan, and we all know that we don't get along unless it's to hate the Dodgers.
That's something that we can all unite on for the most part, too. I think 99.9% of baseball fans can be united in that. But let us know down below who you all have as your playoff predictions and who's going to be a sleeper team in MLB this year. Maybe someone we didn't mention you think could make a run for the playoffs, or which one of our picks you think is just absolutely idiotic. There's at least one in there guaranteed. But